Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bravo Tea with a Stay-at-Home Mom. I'm Erica, and I'm ready to talk all things Bravo. Welcome back, everybody. And on this episode, we're going to be recapping the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the Real Housewives of New York, and getting into some Bravo tea. I feel like we have some couple good stories to talk about. So let's just dive right in to Beverly Hills. So we pick up with the ladies still at dinner, and Kyle and Dorit are still having it out. I really feel they need to get all this off their chest. Whether they are agreeing with each other, I think it's good that they are just being honest and saying, well, this bothered me and this bothered me. It's a little bit of a tit for tat at this point, but Kyle is saying all the way back 4 seasons ago, which I can't even believe we're bringing that up, that she felt hurt when Dorit made the comment about her fashion show, and they show the clip back. And Dorit is like, Kyle doesn't know what she's doing. I have to save the day. And it's like, all right, well, she really didn't kind of know what she was doing. And maybe it was a little harsh that Dorit worded it like that. But you have to remember, they're sitting in a confessional, and the camera guy is literally asking them, like, oh, like, did you have to help Kyle and do everything for it? Like, they're definitely feeding things into them saying that. And they could be just taking the clip that sounded the cattiest and doing that with the girls. It's like, I feel like that is like that for all these shows. There is so much footage we don't see. So then when they piece together these dinners, don't you ever notice, like, 1 minute they have a cocktail, the next minute they don't. 1 minute they've finished the meal, the next minute they're getting their meal. I mean, they are kind of piecing it all together for us to give it the most dramatic spin. But I really actually at this point can't believe that she is going back that far. And then Dorit says, yeah, you didn't talk to me for 6 months after that. And Kyle said she was starting a new business. I would never do that to you. And then Dorit is like, oh, no, no, no. If we're going to do this and go down this road, it's Uba voice. No, 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 no. But she said, oh, you did that to me with Buca de Beppo. And they show the footage of that. Thank God for these Bravo editors that just show us all the playbacks. So she brings Kyle into the Capri room. And by the way, Buca de Beppo is no longer at all. It's closed. But Kyle said in her confessional, do I feel like I'm transported into Italy? No. And it's like, okay, that was kind of catty too. None of these are like friendship ending, life ruining things that they said to each other. It's just the name of the game. You have to be a little catty to be on these shows. Sorry. That's why people don't want their actual real friends on these shows. Like, they become friends with these people on the show, but these are not like their actual, like, we're never going to catch Faye Resnick being a permanent cast member. And if we did, bet you bottom dollar her and Kyle would not be friends anymore, because we know that Faye Resnick, the corrupt, morally corrupt Faye Resnick, would go for the jugular with everybody, because she'd be like, I need to earn my paycheck. I need to do it. But then Sutton whispered to Erica, are we really going back this far? Because it's like, yeah, this is like 4 seasons ago, 4 years ago, like however many years, but we know it's 4 seasons ago. And it's just a little crazy that we're doing that. So Dorit said, oh, it's always okay for you to do it to me. And I feel like they both are just thinking these comments to each other are jokes. Like, Kyle is saying to her, oh, well, I'm just joking. Don't be mad at me. But then Dorit is saying, well, I'm just joking. Don't be mad at me. So I don't know. I think Kyle is being a little hypocritical, because she acts like she has never said anything to Dorit. They literally played the Buca de Beppo thing. She's like, oh, I would never do that to you. They literally played the playback, roll the tapes. Dorit said she's just fed up with it. And Kyle said, in the last 2 years, I lost my best friend. I'm going through a separation. And Dorit said, you don't get to pick and choose when we can be friends, which is true. So just that fashion show comment, she didn't talk to Dorit for 6 months. That's a little wild. And it's like, if that upset you, just tell her that and then move on. 6 months? Like, that's pretty crazy. So Kyle was like, well, I just feel like when you apologize, it's not sincere, because Dorit kind of like said sorry. I feel like at this moment, if either of them are saying sorry to each other, it's because the other one is saying, well, I'd like you to say sorry. And it's not them going out of their way on a random day to say sorry, and they thought of it themselves. If I have to tell you to say sorry to me, it really doesn't mean anything. Like, I'm trying to do this with my children when they get in their little squabbles. I tell my older one, because it's usually my older one bothering the younger one. And I'm like, aren't younger siblings supposed to be more annoying? And I always tell her, you need to say sorry right now. And I feel like I'm telling her to say sorry, but it's like, and I want her to say sorry, and she does. But then it's like, you're not really meaning it because I'm just telling you to do it. So then that's why I say, well, why are you saying sorry? And I do send her in timeout. And then I say, why were you in timeout? Like, why are you up here? Because you need to understand the whole thing. It's not just, oh, I'm sorry, let's move on. And it's just a word. I didn't mean it. Actions speak louder than words. And I feel like Kyle asking kind of for the apology, Dorit does it, but then Kyle says, well, when you apologize, it's just not sincere. And I kind of can't believe she said that just because Kyle did the same thing at this dinner. Like, I do agree with what she's saying, but it's like, well, you just did it too. She did to Dorit. She went, okay, well, I'm sorry for that. And she literally said it like that. And it's like, okay, I just don't really believe that one either. I just feel like Kyle is telling Dorit everything that applies to her as well. Like, am I crazy? I just feel like it needs to be an agree to disagree at this point, because it's not like anybody killed each other's dog, or as Orange County cat. Heather, did I run over your cat? And Katie's like, I don't have a cat. And it's just, I think it needs to be just moved on, because as Kyle is saying, she's going through a lot. Do you really want this to be added to your plate? This seems a little petty. But then, of course, Garceelle had to chime in and say, I agree with that. When you apologize, you don't mean it.
Shut up. Shut up.
Of course you have to say that, because any chance Garceelle gets to dog Dorit is just, she's taken the opportunity. I don't even understand Garcelle's permanent problem with Dorit, because they all say mean things. I don't mind Garcelle on the show, but I feel she is hypocritical and double standard too. And now there's another Black woman on the show, so she cannot pull that card. And there was last year. So I don't know. I just feel like if Dorit said this to Garcelle, like, oh, well, I don't believe when you apologize either, I feel like she would be like, are you saying that because I'm Black? I'm sorry to say these things, but Garcelle has done this in the past, and I don't like that. And I just feel like she has a double standard, like, do as I say, not as I do. And of course, she just had to chime in. Also, like, kind of doing her job. I get it. Pretty much it's like, oh, let's all just leave the dinner table and leave, get out of here. But the next day, they take these cute little Jeep looking things. And I saw them when we were down the beach. And they're just so cute. I forget what they're called, but it's like a better golf cart. Like, you can drive them on the road, but like, you should not be on like I-95, like the major highway on it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like more like beach towns, perfect for this right now. And it's just super cute. And they're taking it, of course, to a yacht that Kathy has organized. These are the things I like to watch. Kathy is also trying to tell the chef how to cook the lobster on the grill. I'm just dying. It's like, why even pay help? Why don't you just grill, Kathy? And then Kyle was like, I just can't with Kathy. Earlier, she has no toothbrush. She is using an eyebrow like brush, like the spool of like almost like a mascara wand, but the ones you get to like fill in your eyebrows. And she is using it to brush her teeth. Now, Kathy should know, since she is a Hilton now and they own Hilton hotels, that you could simply call the front desk and say, I have forgotten my toothbrush. I need a toothbrush. You do not have to subject your teeth to like eyebrow pencil mascara wands as your teeth. I mean, her teeth had to be like brown or black, because I assume there's like color a little bit on those spools. I just can't. I mean, I feel like also on these trips, they like zhuzh the rooms more than they probably would for like you and me. So I like find it weird that they actually wouldn't put out a little care package for all the ladies, like for the hotel. And just so also they can like take a picture on Instagram and promote it. See, I'm like, I should work for this hotel and give them ideas. But doing a little like pencil, little toothpaste, little like Advil pack, like stuff like that. Basically, those little bags that you get when you go to like a wedding, because you wouldn't believe that people forget normal basic things like that. Like example, went to my friend's wedding in Philly like 2 years ago. I forgot my toothbrush. So I packed everything. I was like so paranoid that I was going to forget my dress because we had to drive. It's like 45 minutes from us. So we drove to the hotel first. And obviously I don't want to drive in my dress. I was like, we'll check in our room. We'll get dressed in the room and then we'll like Uber to the wedding. And I was just so paranoid we were going to forget our clothes for the wedding and have to go in like sweatpants that I forgot my toothbrush. But thank God she had the little wedding bag and it had a toothbrush in it. So maybe the hotel should have done that for them and Kathy Hilton would have been very happy. I'm also surprised they didn't stay at a Hilton hotel. I guess it's because Bravo is paying for this and they really don't care. But there are Hilton hotels in San Diego because I looked it up. So I was just a little surprised they weren't at a Hilton. But Kathy is basically going to take over the lobster on the grill. And she's like, you need to move it up on this rack because if not, it could dry out. The guy's probably like, shut up and sit down. Let me do my job. Then Garcelle and Kyle go off to kind of chit chat. And Garcelle is just telling Kyle that she doesn't know what is next in this phase of life for her. Like her kids are older. I feel like her and Kyle had their like kind of difficult getting along when she first came on the show. Because remember, Kyle was like accusing Garcelle of like not paying her for like that charity thing or something. And then Garcelle was like, oh, you're saying that because I'm Black. And I feel like they got off to a rocky start. But now I feel like they're kind of in the same boat. Kyle can relate to all these ladies so much more now, I feel like, because she's alone. And a lot of people were single, like Sutton's single, Garcelle was single. So literally this season, they're all single. Well, Jennifer Tilly has a boyfriend, but she's not married. So, I mean, they very well could break up like tomorrow and then everybody would be single. But it's crazy. Oh, and Bose has a boyfriend, but also like, it's just, I don't know, like the fact that no one has like a husband with like the little kids, like it's totally not Housewife. It's just like single ladies of Beverly Hills basically this season. But Kyle's getting emotional in her confessional and she said she thought she would be traveling the world with her partner, sleeping next to somebody in the bed, growing old with somebody. And I'm just getting, I know I said this on my last episode, so confused at this point. Does that mean she wants to get back together with Maurizio no matter what the bad betrayal thing he did, which I told you guys on my last episode? I think it's just him collecting the PPP money for himself, which I feel like 98% of people did that got the PPP money. Not saying it's right, but just saying if that's all Kyle thought about after 30 years, I think she should take another thought because if it's not infidelity and you both aren't in jail, I think I could get past it for how upset I see Kyle is. And it's just so sad to see her this sad. And I guess even if it was like cheating, you still would be this sad because Kyle just seems like a very emotional person anyway. So even if she was kind of mad at him, I feel like she still would get this sad. But I feel like they would get back together before PK and Dorit. And that was actually a poll on Watch What Happens Live. And I agree. Last year, I would have been like, no, definitely not. But now, I don't know. The fact that Kyle is really regretting it, but Maurizio would have to say, okay, I'll get back together with you. And it's okay that you basically like shut me out for a year or more. Like he would have to be okay with it. Cause I think now he's realized, oh, we're separated. And now she's like, oh no, wait, come back. I mean, the last episode she said, oh, he has like a condo for 6 months and then we'll reevaluate. But reevaluate what? Like, what do you mean? It's just weird. And then like whenever you ask her, these people, she's like, I don't want to answer that. It's like, yeah, because you don't want to look like a loser. I don't know. But then Dorit and Sutton are talking, and I feel like they're pairing them all off deliberate. Like Garcelle and Kyle are sad to be like empty nesters, and Dorit and Sutton are talking because Sutton's going to prepare her for what could come in her divorce. And she said, if that's the path that you go down, I'll be there for you. And then there's like a seal crying in the background in the water, and she's like, and so will he. There was like literally a seal just on the boat dock. My sister-in-law just went to San Diego to visit her oldest daughter, lives out there with her husband. And the Snapchats she was sending me of the little cute seals on like just lounging, like a pig laying in mud in the sun. Like, they're just so cute. I feel like they are like the pigs of the sea. They just like lounge around, but they are literally so cute. But then Kyle and Dorit are having a moment on the boat. They're all kind of like convening over the delicious lunch that, thank God, Kathy Hilton told that chef how to cook that lobster, because I don't know if he could have handled it without her take on the grill. But Kyle said, Mo and PK are closer than ever, and we are further apart than ever. And then they show her talking to Garceelle, like a flashback on the boat. And she's like, yeah, and PK reaches out to me. And it's like, that is a little weird, but it's not in like the way that like Garceelle, I think, is going to later twist it. We saw in the trailer this season. And what Kyle meant. She probably more means like, oh, I used to talk to Dorit and she would be reaching out to me and I would be reaching out to her to lean on each other for stuff like this. But instead it's like, I'm like closer friends with PK and he's checking on me instead of like my friend because we're mad at each other. Definitely not like a sexual way. But then Bose is just talking about dating since her husband passed away. So that's when we find out she has a boyfriend. And then Jennifer Tilly tells us some interesting facts. She said she used to date like a con artist. And I guess he was kind of using her for that Simpsons money. I mean, she's rich, honey. So he wanted to buy that Louis Vuitton boat for $33,000, the little boat purse. She should have brought it on the yacht. I wonder if she did, because that would have been perfect. I didn't see an appearance by it. But she said she had to literally pass her credit card under the table to not like make him feel less than, but he was like poor. So I guess she's like, oh, well, obviously I have to pay for our expensive dinner here, but here, I'll have you, macho man, hand the waitress the credit card. But like the waitress will look at the credit card and it says Jennifer Tilly. So like, whatever. I find it interesting when some of these mega rich like celebrities date someone that isn't in their realm, because it could be true love or the person could be using them like this. So it's kind of like, I don't really know what Jennifer Tilly was getting out of that relationship. But that definitely seems to me like he's using you. But now she said she has a boyfriend and they gamble together. So love that for her. She's like a gambling addict. And she has a house in Las Vegas, 2 houses in Bel Air that are next to each other. One is for parties. I mean, have we ever had anyone on these shows say that? That is some next level, I'm rich, honey, because that's wild. It's like, I don't want all you peons in my normal home. I'll just buy the house next to me. No big deal. In Bel Air. No big deal. It's not like, oh, we'll just be outside. I don't want you in my house. Like, no, I'll just buy the house next door. That's crazy. She said they never used the Malibu house, which they showed a picture of the backyard. And that looks palatious. She said because there's a ghost there and he doesn't really like them there. And I'm like, exorcist the shit out of that ghost. I'm vacationing in that Malibu house, swimming in that pool. Like, she has some money. Very interesting that we found out about The Simpsons, because that's definitely where a lot of the money is coming from, even though she does do a lot of work on her own. But that's wild. I didn't know before she was on the show that like she had that kind of money. So very interesting. So on the boat ride, Sutton was having some googly eyes for the captain. So when they're docking the boat and getting off, Kathy says to the captain, trying to wing woman Sutton, but also making her look like a paraplegic, I feel like. She's like, oh, can you carry Sutton because she has bad legs? She's bad circulation. So it's like, not very sexy, Kathy. Like, you're trying to like fix them up, but you're like also kind of commenting on her neuropathy with the legs. And then Dorit slips the captain the phone number. She's a little more better of a wing woman. She's like, oh, here, didn't make sure you text or call or whatever. And then they're like walking away and she's like, is he looking? Like Dorit's like, do the look back to Sutton. That's so funny. But then all the ladies are getting ready for dinner. And in true Kathy Hilton form, she is laying in a robe on the bed with a fan directly on her face. And then she's asking Kyle to lip gloss her. And I wonder if she's trying to dry her like fake lashes, or if she is just laying there propped up like that with a fan in her face for fun. I don't know. I had to take a little sip of my Olipop. I love the Olipop. If you guys haven't had it yet, the cherry cola tastes just like a cherry Coke. So good. But Sutton is looking like really snatched in her confessionals also. I'm liking her outfits because I feel like I never really liked her style before. I know all her clothes are obviously like so expensive, but it doesn't matter how much it costs. It still has to look good to me. Like I get that's like high-end fashion sometimes, like Kanye West and his replacement Kim Kardashian wife, like she walks around with like nylon pantyhose like on her face like a bank robber. But like that's just a no for me. It's just weird. And it's like, can you wear clothes in public? I feel like she is like not wearing a proper attire, like no shoes, no shirt, no service. I guess that applies different to them, but all the ladies are going to dinner. And why do I feel like after Kyle was friends with Morgan Wade, like all she does is wear black? Like, are you now like gearing to like lesbian clothing? I'm just kidding because I love black and I love black leather, but I always kind of have. And I feel like I'm not saying Kyle never wore black and or wore leather on the show, but like she's like always dressing in black. Like all the other women have like some nice, like, you know, clothes. And then I feel like just like doom and gloom Wednesday Adams over here is just constantly wearing black. And it's weird. But Kyle took a cute picture and then of Bose. And she's like, oh, are you going to send it to your man? And then Kyle says to Kathy randomly, do you send Rick nude photos when you're going on vacation? And then Kathy said, no, but I do have some locked away in the safe at the bank. I'm like, what? Like, don't you have a safe at your house? Can you imagine going to the bank like Rick Hilton? He's like, I need to get into my safety deposit box to see nude photos of my wife. Can you let me in? Like, no, that's so weird. And like, when do we think they're not updated photos? You know, they're like from like the 70s or 80s, like when Kathy was like way younger. And I just thought that was so funny. Like, Kathy's like, I'm not having anything electronic nude, but let's put it at the bank. Can't have it laying around the house just in case the robbers come and steal our safe or steal our stuff. She learned from the Tommy Lee Pamela Anderson thing. See, she saw that tape get taken and she's like, Rick, if you want to see me naked, we got to lock it in a safety deposit box at the bank. Can't risk it. But then immediately, Garceelle is calling Dorit out, of course, and she asked why she didn't she asked why she did repost Teddi's post that Dorit was tagged in of all of them on stage with John Mellencamp. So it was like Erica, Teddi, Kyle, Dorit. I don't know if Lisa Rinna was in the original post. And it was like when they went to go see John Mellencamp like a year ago. And Teddi, so I just listened to her and Tamara's podcast, and because I wanted to hear her comment on this. So she said they all like went to it like a year ago, and she was actually that night that they were filming this episode. She was on her way to the Hollywood Bowl to watch her dad again. So it's like she just posted it as like a memory. And then she tagged them all. So that like when someone tags you, you repost it. I mean, is Garceelle like living under a rock? That's just what you do. And Dorit was like, well, I shared it because I was happy to promote Teddi's dad because he was being in concert that night. But then Kyle in her confessional goes, I don't think John Mellencamp, like Grammy winner, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, needs your help in ticket sales. I don't think that's like really what Dorit meant. I know they always like, I feel like Dorit says something and they always try to twist it in the negative way instead of the more, oh, she just was tagged, so she reposted it. And maybe Dorit shouldn't have said, oh, I'm happy to promote Teddi's dad. But I mean, some of these people that are younger that watch Beverly Hills literally may not even know who John Mellencamp is. So Dorit's not wrong in a sense. We're not saying John Mellencamp needs help being promoted, but what if Dorit didn't repost it and she's tagged in it? Then she looks like she's ignoring Teddi and she's being a bitch. But of course, Garceelle just had to say that because in the previous episode, she's like, Kyle was jumping down Dorit's back for not defending Teddi at BravoCon. She just didn't say anything, which nobody did, Kyle. So you're going to yell at everybody? And Dorit was like, we're friends, but we're not that close. And it's like she never said she doesn't not talk to Teddi. So then, of course, Garcelle was like, oh, you said you weren't friends with her. And Dorit went, I never said that I wasn't friends with her. I said I'm not that close. But it's like, I don't know. I just can't with Garcelle.
Shut up. Shut up.
She is just trying to get it in with Dorit while like Kyle, like I feel like she's just like, oh yeah, Kyle, you don't like her? I'll jump on the bandwagon. Cause then if not, it'd just be Garcelle basically giving Dorit a hard time. But Sutton has a little speech prepared and she brought this little blue ribbon and she's tying it around all the ladies' hands together, saying they're bonded sisterhood. And we shall see how that holds up for the rest of the season because it barely lasted. Because the next morning they're all getting in the Sprinter van that we know is always potentially toxic and bad for arguments. They are taking it to a plane, which I was confused because I'm like, didn't they drive there? And like, what is the plane? 15 minutes? Like, they're just going from San Diego to Beverly Hills or like Los Angeles. So I'm like, so confused why they were taking the Sprinter van to get on a plane. And I'm like, didn't they just take a Sprinter van there? The first one? I don't know. But Sutton is pouring a big cup of vodka and orange juice, which I don't know if anyone else really noticed that, but I did because nobody else was drinking at all. And it's like, that's rough. I mean, first of all, I can't do vodka and orange juice. I can't do a screwdriver. I also can't do these cheap juices that Miss I get $350,000 a month always wants to get. I mean, she had like Tropicana basically, or like the Simply orange juice. Those still aren't good. Newsflash, you got to get oranges and squeeze them yourself. None of these juices on the shelf are good unless you're buying them at like a health food store where it's like their own label and they're like, yeah, we just squeezed it in the back. Like Whole Foods. They have the little orange thing. That's what I mean. Like, I don't know why Sutton is not going to like Whole Foods and getting the fresh juice. It's just very alarming to me. She has so much damn money and seems snooty and picky about so much, but the Ocean Spray grapefruit juice, like, no, just get some grapefruits. And then now she has this Simply orange juice. It's like, no, just get some oranges to juice. It's just go make Avi do that. He's the house manager. I mean, it's very confusing. But then poor Dorit, I really do feel like everyone's shoving down her throat and she's the one going through the tough time right now. So Kyle, even though you're arguing with her, you know how it is to go through a tough time in a separation. Why don't you jump in and save her? Just like you're yelling at her for not jumping in and saving Teddi, which I don't really understand about. But then Sutton was like, oh, Erica, you were whispering the other night at dinner and it's just still about the Teddi thing. I also don't know why they're talking about Teddi so much, but they're all like hounding her on like, oh, you said you're not close with Teddi, but yet you're like reposting something. But then they're saying it's not about Teddi. And she went, I said that we're friends, but we're not close. And they keep all saying that Dorit didn't say that. Like Erica's saying that, Kyle's saying that. I can't wait till the reunion when they roll the footage of her literally saying that at dinner. And it's like, I'm sorry, do these people have amnesia, as Teddi once said to Erica, and she like flipped out and like murdered her with her eyes from across the table, made her cry her first season? It's like she just said that like a night ago. Like, are you listening when you're filming the show? I feel like I'd be good on these shows because I would be so dialed in, listening to what everyone says that I'd be like, yeah, she did say that the other night. If I was at that dinner, Dorit, I got your back. I'm going to say, yeah, Dorit said they're not close, but she said we're friends. I mean, I don't know. But next week's episode has a preview that we are getting an appearance from Camille Grammer. And Dorit is going toes with her, lighting up that cigarette, letting everybody have it this season. I'm loving it. She calls her, see you next Tuesday. And I feel like that's part from back when Camille did say she didn't know where all of PK and Dorit's money came from. So that was fascinating. But let's talk a little bit about New York before we get into the Bravo Tea, because I feel like the Bravo Tea is going to be more interesting than New York. But I do have a big gripe for this episode of New York, so I did want to recap it. So the ladies are all going to Puerto Rico, and as always, when they get to the house, it's like an argument, like who gets what room. So this is what I don't understand. Why do they not pick houses that have enough bedrooms for everyone to have their own room? Because there's not that many of them. Like let's count them out. We got Brynn, we got Aaron, Jessel, Cy, Uba, Raquel, Jenna. Did I say Rebecca Minkoff? Rebecca. There's 8 people. Can we get an 8-bedroom house? That's probably not that weird or hard to find. I don't know. Does that sound dramatic? 8 bedrooms? I don't know. I don't know how many bedrooms are in here, but I also understand why like grown-ass women don't want to share bedrooms. I think it's a little different if there's separate beds, but sometimes like we go to these houses and they show all the bedrooms and there's 1 bed per bedroom. And I'm like, okay, so not only do they have to share the bedroom, they have to share the bed. That's definitely a no for me. I'm sorry. But then Uba was literally about to leave because she wanted her own room. So Aaron took one for the team and she's going to room with somebody. And then Rebecca thought it was going to be her turn to have a room to herself since she didn't on the last trip. But Brynn immediately ran up and took this like little child room. It literally was like those beds that you can like buy on Etsy that it kind of looks like a house, but it's like an outlining. So it's not like a whole like house and it's flat on the ground. And I'm like, yeah, again, why are we wasting a room for this? Like, I don't think anyone's renting these houses, bringing a child that wants to sleep in a house bed. But also, if you are, just have them sleep in a normal bed. I don't think we need to dedicate a whole room and ruin it for adults that potentially rent this house. 'Cause the house looks super nice. But honestly, this could be why a hotel is better because then everyone could have their own room. I don't know. The fun, like hanging out in the house and doing like the chefs that come, I like that. But I would be probably running out of that Sprinter van to get my own room. Or like you just make it fair and do like, okay, well, last time, like you had to share a room this time. I'm not. But Brynn is doing like her little fake lesbian act with Raquel and Jenna. And she's like snuggling on Jenna's like boobs. And Jenna has a girlfriend. And then Raquel is engaged. So it's kind of like, Brynn, we know you're not a lesbian, but it's kind of like enough doing this. Rebecca then walks into the room though, and Brynn said in her confessional that she's a lady boner killer. She just has a hard on for Rebecca Minkoff. And I think it's just because Rebecca Minkoff maybe doesn't like vibe with Brynn or feel she has that much in common with her, which happens on these shows. Like Brynn is younger than her, and this is how we're going to get into our next point, the thing that made me blow up. She doesn't have kids. So Rebecca and her are just kind of different walks of life. And Brynn gave her a hard time as soon as she stepped out on the scene. Maybe Brynn didn't like her handbag line, and that's why she's given her a hard time. But Brynn said, oh, Rebecca, do you like sharing a room? And she's like, yeah, I was just hoping I'd have my own room since last time I had to share. And I have like kids. And then Brynn cut her off and she said, oh, well, we're all busy. And she said, well, when you have kids, you'll understand. So Brynn took this so offensively, but I'm going to speak as a mom, a wife who has kids. And 2, Rebecca has 4. I have 2. And if I'm on a vacation, I want peace and quiet and my own room. And my kids don't even sleep in my bed. They're very good sleepers. I'm very lucky for that because I never let them do that. Like only when we've been on like vacation, when we physically have to share a bed in a hotel room. But I just would like lay in their bed more if like they were like sick or needed like comfort. I did not let them lay in our bed because I didn't want them to think that they could then sleep with us in our bed. So Rebecca is saying, no, like I have 4 kids and they like, are on me and like laying in my bed. And Brynn's like, oh, I'm really busy. It's like, bitch, no one's saying you're not busy. But the fact that she thinks being busy and having 4 kids that obviously Rebecca is hinting some of them sleep in her bed, if not maybe all of them, we don't know, is totally different. Like, and I'm not shaming adult women or women that just aren't ready yet that don't have kids. You still have a life. You still are busy. You still have stress. But what Brynn doesn't have is small children laying in her bed every night. So I'm really confused why she thinks Rebecca is wrong and they're the same, or like Brynn is right. It's like, oh, did you adopt 4 kids that I'm unaware of that are sleeping in your bed, keeping you up all night? And I'm just going to throw this out there too. You could have a job. You could be stressed. You could be busy. You could go out a lot. But when Brynn comes home, she's alone. She has a dog. So yes, she is responsible for the dog. Little different than being responsible for a human child, though, because you can't leave a human child alone while you go out all night, but you can leave a dog. She doesn't have responsibility. Rebecca has responsibility of 4 other humans. I mean, she's a husband too, so they're, helping each other. She's help. But I'm so lost why Brynn thinks her life is busier than Rebecca's. Like, when you clock out of work and go home, you can lay and watch a marathon of Bravo all day if you want. Rebecca can't do that. And I know she can't do that because I can't do that. I have kids. So I just don't like that people think, oh, well, you can't shame me that I don't have kids because I'm busy too. It's like, no one's saying you're not busy, but I'm busier. I'm sorry. I'm just saying it. Full-time job, being a parent, 24/7, every hour. Like, they could be waking up at 2 a.m, vomiting. You have to go clean them, clean their sheets, give them medicine, like see what's wrong, possibly then take them to the doctor the next day, possibly take off of work. I mean, I don't want to go on much more of a rant because I think people are getting the picture. But Brynn's not doing all that. I'm sorry. It is different. And Rebecca didn't mean it like that. She just probably means, which I probably would have just stood there and said it, Rebecca's too meek and mild for this show. I would have looked at her and been like, no, you had a room to yourself last time. You have a room to yourself now. I never have had a room to myself. And I live with 4 children and a husband. You live with fucking nobody and a little dog. That's what I'm saying. I want some peace and quiet, something you know a lot about that you get on a daily basis that I would like now on my vacation. Okay? That's what I meant. And it's like, yeah, Brynn, you're busy doing like, I don't know what. I don't know. Like, it was just very frustrating for her to immediately twist that. No, she just said she wants some alone time. I don't know how she equated that to being busy. And then if it wasn't annoying enough that Brynn, had to do the whole pregnancy scandal with Rebecca and Aaron, and that whole pregnancy prank scandal thing was just annoying, she hid Jessel's suitcase for 45 minutes. And I'm so confused why this has turned into ridiculousness, or like, what's that Nick Cannon show? Don't they do like pranks, stuff, Wild and Out? I'm so confused why this has turned into Prank War Champions on Jersey Shore and all of that. And not just Housewives. I'm wondering, so they're filming the reunion this week for New York. I'm wondering what they're going to do, because last year I think we were like, oh, okay, we could get into this. And then this year it's like, nope. All the questions written in that I saw were like about the OGs. I'm sure Andy won't read them. He'll try to sift through, the ones that are actual questions for these people. But I'm wondering what they're going to do. So they all sit down to eat. Then like Uba and Aaron are like kind of fighting, but I thought they were fine. And then they get up and then Uba went, look at that performance. And then they clap and I'm like, wait, was that a prank? It's just like, I can't believe anything that comes out of these people's mouths anymore. And then they go swimming later. And Rebecca is telling Aaron and Jessel about the situation with Brynn. And they totally agree because they have kids. And then Brynn is telling Raquel, Jenna, and Uba that situation. And Raquel, even in her confessional, because she was in the room, was like, I don't think Rebecca meant it that way. And she definitely did not. It's so annoying that Brynn is making it seem like she's downing Brynn for not having kids. She literally never said that. And mind you, Brynn isn't having fertility issues. I mean, maybe she will when she starts trying. We don't know if she's going to have issues, but it's not like she's struggling to get pregnant. She just has not gotten pregnant yet. She has not even tried. She's just frozen her eggs. So it's not like there's this emotional story of like her struggling for years to get pregnant or having a bunch of miscarriages. So just talking about kids in general and poking any slight direction of a kid like joke or jab would upset her because if anything, Brynn is basically saying, oh, my life is so much more busier than you and more important, even though you work and have 4 kids. I'm busier. It's like, I don't think so. And then when they go to dinner, it becomes a thing. And she said, you have mean girl behavior and you've been mean ever since I stepped on the scene. So Rebecca's saying this to Brynn, which I agree. And Brynn's like, no, you're wrong. I know everything. You're wrong. I'm the know-it-all. I mean,
Shut up. Shut up.
she is a child. Brynn possibly isn't ready to have a child yet because she is a child. I just can't believe she was talking to Rebecca that way, making a spectacle out of something that all she said was, I just don't want to share a freaking room and or bed with another adult when I already did on the last trip. I just want a break. I would say that too. I would be pissed, honestly. Like, let's say I'm going on a bachelorette party. I mean, I wouldn't be like that much of a drama queen because I would just be thankful to be like on a trip without my children and have like some friend time. But I would be pissed if there's people there that don't have kids and they have like their own room and their own bed, and I have kids and I have to share a room and or a bed. I'd be like, well, why don't you? Because you never have to share anything, and I do. Like, I can't even eat a meal without sharing. And I love that. I actually make my kids try my food so they can eat more. But like, I think that's what Brynn isn't understanding. It's like Rebecca is sharing everything. She's sharing her titties with the kids. I mean, she's still breastfeeding. So it's just like, it's never like she can't be selfish. And on a trip, she can be selfish and say, I'd like to sleep alone in this room because her kids aren't there. I'm not liking Brynn. Also, I find it very interesting that she came out in an article. So this was after Aaron said she had an abortion. And then Brynn came out in an article and is talking about her sexual assault in a little more details because she brought it up last episode. She said it was someone she was dating. So that's interesting. I don't know if it said that on the show or I couldn't really understand her because she was crying when she was telling her brother. But on the little article, I saw it was like in People or something. It was like a magazine. So I was like in the grocery store and I was like, oh, let me read it real quick. And she said that it was like one night, someone she was dating, she left. She took like a million showers. She said her water bill was like $10,000 that month, obviously exaggerating, but she said she could not get clean enough. She said she never like went to the authorities about it. She said she's run into him in the city and in the Hamptons, and she tries to just move on from it. So I think that's interesting, a little more details to it. I think it's sad if it's someone she was dating. I think she should have gone to the authorities. I don't really know why she wouldn't. But then she was, so mad at Jeff Lewis for alluding to her being like a call girl or a sugar baby or something. And at the end of this episode, she says to Rebecca, oh, well, I'm busy too. I'm on the 2 in the morning. I'm getting phone calls from Russian billionaires. And Sai was like, you live in a studio apartment or a 1-bedroom apartment. A Russian billionaire is not calling you. But it's like, that's why Jeff said that. And she is very flirty all the time on the show. I feel like she tries to be like this with her personality to cover up the sexual assault thing. But also it's like, this is going to be so mean, but you're not making me feel that bad for the comments that Jeff Lewis said, or maybe this story because you're saying Russian billionaires are calling you and you're like alluding to yourself as like a call girl or like a sugar baby. But then we're all supposed to understand about your sexual assault case. I mean, I don't know. I did like Brynn last year. I don't really like her this year. I don't really like that she thinks she's just so much busier than a mom of four. I am still going to continue to watch the show, but I am very curious for the reunion, like what Andy will say to them, because I wonder if he will be like, oh, everybody hates you guys. And I wonder what they're going to do moving forward. Like, clearly, we all want the OGs back. Clearly, they're struggling to even like make episodes because they got to hide suitcases and do fake fights and fake pregnancy and everything. And it's getting wild. But I'm ready to see what Brynn and Uba argue about. It's going to be in Puerto Rico on this trip. And I like, how many episodes do we have left? Do we have like 3, 2? I don't know. But whatever happens, like they don't speak. So I'm very curious to see that. But let's take a little break right here and then we will just wrap it up with some Bravo tea. To all my listeners out there, it's not just the Bravo celebrities that want to look beautiful. We do too. Head on over to Studio One Salon for the most amazing extensions, cut, color, or even just a nice shampoo and blowout. Or when you go out with all your friends to talk about all the latest Bravo tea. Use my code BRAVOT with a stay-at-home mom to enjoy 10% off. And we're back. And let's kick it off with the funniest news that we got the other day, that Tom Sandavol has dropped his lawyer and will be representing himself in court against Raquel Leviss for the like pornography distribution, the little naked Snapchats. I mean, all I can say is if I was on that jury, I don't know if it's a jury trial or if I was the judge, I would just be like,
Not today, Satan.
I mean, I am just picturing like scenes from Legally Blonde and him thinking that's how he's going to be in court. Oh my God, this one account. I don't know how to pronounce her account. Let me see. She put this montage of Judge Judy and then scenes of Tom Sandoval. And he was like, oh man, like you don't understand. And then Judge Judy was like, sit down and shut up. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, she needs like an Academy Award for that. It was hilarious because we all love the ruthless Judge Judy. My grandparents had this book when I was little, I remember, at their house, and it was her book and it said, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. I mean, I would love Judge Judy to be his judge. That would just be amazing. I mean, can you imagine him representing himself? He will be there in a woman's pantsuit from Zara. And he will just be like, oh, Judge, like, Ariana was ignoring me and like Raquel came over and was got in like the hot tub. Like, not a big deal. Like, I still love Ariana. It's just like, I mean, of any time to want a lawyer, it would be for this. I mean, this is something serious, but like, tell me you're poor without telling me you're poor. You had to close your restaurant and now you're not going to have legal counsel for a basically, it's not an assault case, but I mean, it's kind of like that. I mean, he said that he didn't want like the lawyer he had from before anymore because he filed a countersuit against Ariana in the case that he claimed he was not informed about. So that was like back in the summer, I think, when we were like, oh my God, Tom's suing Ariana. He said his lawyer did all that and he didn't know. I don't know about that. But I don't know. This is going to be very interesting. I would love to be picked for that jury trial. But then other news that I just saw, my friend sent it to me. I'm like, thank God you sent me this. I'm about to sit down and record. And now it's like all over the internet. Vanderpump Rules. James Kennedy is arrested for domestic violence. I mean, just when we thought our little Jamesy was doing good, he's been doing like collabs with Pauly D. So it said law enforcement sources tell TMZ police were dispatched to a home in the area Tuesday night after receiving a call about an argument between him and a woman. So it's just a woman. So, I mean, obviously, allegedly, I'm assuming and thinking it's Allie. but especially because it's 2 in the morning, like, what are you yelling at your woman neighbor? I don't know. But it says, we were told a witness saw Kennedy and the woman arguing with the reality TV star allegedly grabbing her at one point, though we're told officers did not see any visible injuries on her. It's worth nothing. Kennedy and his girlfriend, Allie Lieber, appeared to attend a holiday party at Kathy Hilton's home the night of the arrest, which I did see pictures of Kathy. She was reading Kathy Hilton's sign, which is so funny. She was doing like all that astrological stuff for her. So seeing that they possibly had a domestic dispute after is so sad, and he's arrested. So my friend said to me, you think he, went off the wagon, was drinking, and they were fighting? I don't know. I mean, anything is possible, literally, with all these lunatics. But I feel like he's been doing so good. I don't think he'd be drinking. And they go to parties all the time. So I don't think him going to Kathy Hilton's party is like, oh, better drink. They go to parties all the time. Maybe they really just were getting into an argument. And James has a temper. And he still can have a temper. Like, it was worse when he was drinking, but he still can have a temper. That's really sad. I mean, obviously, I feel bad for whatever woman it is, but I'm going to be really extra sad if it's Allie, because I really thought that he had, a come to Jesus moment, and he's a lot going for him. And he said last season, I don't want to screw it up. Well, it's like, well, if this is with Allie, you're screwing it up. But even if it's not with Allie, I mean, she's a woman. Like, how's she going to feel that he's having a domestic violent dispute with another woman? Unless it's totally exaggerated. I don't know. So that's all the info I have on it for now. I will keep everyone posted when I do my next episode, because I'm trying to do a fun little video check-in episode with one of my friends that I've had on before. And we're going to recap as a bonus episode Southern Charm together. So we have to just make sure our schedules align. This is a busy weekend. We have some holiday parties to go to. We have brunch with Santa. And then she has a little newborn, couple-month-old baby girl. So I was like, if she needs to talk the Bravo trash and talk about Southern Charm, have her in the video. Have her in a cute little like Southern Charm outfit and talk him. So then another interesting Bravo gossip thing, though, it's like gross too. It's interesting yet gross. We got Brandy Glanville thinking she has a parasite crawling around in her face. Like, now we know Brandy has had like a lot of filler, a lot of puffiness in the face for a while. So she got it all out, and she was hoping that's what it was. And like, we're all like looking at her face and we're like, oh my God, ew, did you dissolve all your filler? Did you get botched surgery? Do we need to get Terry Dubrow on the line with Paul Nassif? None of the above. I mean, she did get the filler dissolved, but this is not the problem. So her face looks sunken in from the filler, but she is like, kind of like, this is so gross, I know. But she has these like craters almost on her face. And she said she thinks there's a parasite in there, that it's crawling around and it'll actually move in her face. And I watched the Bryce Sanders interview, the guy on ET, what is it, Insider, whatever. And he said that like when she pushed her cheek, he's like, oh, I just heard it. And I'm like, ew. And she's like, yeah, there'll be like popping noises. And I don't know if it's like pooping in my face or laying eggs. I'm sorry if anyone is like vomiting from hearing this story. I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to report the Bravo tea. But I mean, this is so gross. She said she spent like $70,000 trying to figure it out. She's like, I would like to just slice my face open and see what's happening in there. I mean, yeah, don't they slice people's faces open for faceless? Can we just slice it open, take the thing out? And I don't know. Also, it's like, give her a CAT scan or a scan of her face. And then I would assume there's a picture of it. I don't know. I'm sure any doctor doesn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole either. It sounds very risky, sounds bizarre. She obviously is trying to blame it on Bravo, though. She said she doesn't know if she picked up this parasite in Morocco from the food. Because then you're like, ew, why are you even getting a parasite? Why is it in your face? She said food was just left out and they would eat it, but also gross. I ain't eating nothing that's being left out in Morocco. And we're never going to see that Morocco trip. She said she thought at first that this was like edema, like stress driven. I don't know. I feel bad for Brandy because this is obviously gross and terrible, but she, I think, brought some of it onto herself on this trip. Brandy, as we've seen on the show, or like the last Ultimate Girls trip that was in the Berkshires, she pushes it a little too far, but then I think Caroline, this is just my opinion, is exaggerating a little. Like, I don't know if Brandy's like holding her down, and all the ladies are supporting Brandy. So I know like Vicky Gunnelson was there. I don't think she'd be supporting Brandy if she did do something. Alex McCord, who is a therapist, supports Brandy. Like, she was tending to Caroline that night, probably just a shoulder to lean on, but she, does support Brandy. So if it was wrong, somebody from that trip would be speaking up or saying, yeah, it was just like too much. Like, no one's saying that. It's just Caroline. But Caroline's also suing Bravo. She's not suing Brandy. But obviously, it's not making Brandy look good at all. She said she hasn't been able to work because of her face. And then, like, obviously, this show got canceled. And then something else got canceled. I don't know. She used to have a podcast. Obviously, she doesn't anymore. I assume. Let me just say I assume. I'm not going to say definitely. But the last time I checked, she didn't. And I definitely don't think she still does. I don't know. I was just like near vomiting hearing this story. I was like, this is literally so gross. Freaks you out like going on vacations too. I'm not shitting on Morocco. I'm just saying because that you could get a parasite in the United States. But it's just like it does make you like worry about the food we're eating, the places we're going, anything. Oh my God. So crazy. But I feel like that's all the Bravo tea I have for the moment. I will keep everyone updated on the DJ James Kennedy saga because this is sad news to read. Because I was just looking at all the pictures and I was like, oh, little Kentucky Muffin Brittany. Like, it seems like everyone from Bravo was invited to her Christmas party. I would love to go to Kathy's Christmas party, also the Kardashians, but I feel like I'd rather go to Kathy's. I mean, the Kardashians, I feel like is more like wild, like decorated, but I feel like the people I would want to see are at Kathy's for sure. Wondering if Morgan Wade made an appearance this year because we saw her with Kyle last year. See, this is what I mean. If Morgan Wade was not at Kathy Hilton's Christmas party this year, it's because her and Kyle broke up. And that's where I'm going to leave it at right now today. I hope everyone has a lovely day. And let's all pray for Brandy's face. Pray for DJ James Kennedy. As always, this was so fun. And you could find me on Instagram at Bravo T with the Stay at Home Mom, Spotify and Apple. Till next time, see ya.